So as soon as I think that the news out of Miami is done for the day, it turns out it's really just getting started and we have to get into it right now. But before we do, y'all, as always, if you would consider subscribing to the channel, we're a brand new channel doing high school football content, recruiting content, NBA, college football, and the NFL. But that's going to get us into what we are going to be talking about today, and that is, according to Field Yates, the number one eligible pass rusher in this upcoming draft, Gregory Rousseau out of the University of Miami, has decided to opt out of the season due to COVID. Now, just this week, Micah Parsons opted out of the season, and he is one of the best college football players in recent memory. I mean, that kid is freaky talented. Coming out of high school, he was a phenom. He was being lauded as being able to play several different positions, and all of it was able to come true. He's proficient at many different positions, but he is a freak at that linebacker position up at Penn State. But now edge rusher Gregory Rousseau opts out of the season, and this is a huge hit for the University of Miami. All the power to Gregory Rousseau. I think that what we're going to see is if guys opt out, it'll probably be guys who are more established with their draft stock, so they're not going to be hurt too bad. But before we get into any more about Gregory Rousseau in particular, I kind of wanted to give y'all an update on college football as a whole and what can we expect as far as more players opting out. And I have to say, there are more players looking to opt out. From what I've been able to find, and the word on the street is that there are quite a few players waiting to make their opt-out decision until they know for sure that a season is going to happen. So while the general public, and God, I hope a season happens, I think that if they can get it done with the right capital we talked about in that UConn, Michigan video, there's a way to do it, but it's just very, very difficult. But that's the word on the street right now, is that there are more players planning to opt out, but a good bit of them are just waiting to see whether or not there's even going to be a season. So apparently, they're not even as sure that a season is going to happen as a lot of other people are, and they're the ones who are going to be playing it. So take that as you will. But let's talk back to Gregory Rousseau, because this kid is 6'7" coming off of the edge. I mean, he is incredibly freaky, incredibly long, and he was a redshirt freshman last year. This was going to be his redshirt sophomore year. He was going to be eligible for the draft. Like I said, Field Yates, who does scouting, has said that he had him pinned going into this season as the number one edge rusher available for the draft, and it makes sense. Just watch him play. The kid is incredible. He's electric. But I think that this is going to be a reality of this season, because if I had to bet, I would say there will be a college season, but I think more players will opt out than we had previously hoped, and we have to understand that we're not the ones making that decision. We're not the ones that have to go out there and take that risk without getting compensated the same way. And so I understand it's being put between a rock and a hard place. And the reason I think more established players are going to be the ones to opt out, or going to be the primary base of those players that opt out, is because I don't know how many of these players that are really looking to jump from rounds 3 to 2 to even the first round, how many of those guys are going to be able to incur the financial hit that maybe opting out will do? Because here's how I look at it. Even if you are incredibly established and you opt out, how are we supposed to punish a player that played and he had a great year? Y'all understand what I'm saying? In other words, when it comes time for the draft, how are we supposed to evaluate somebody who had a great season this year, they look fantastic, and now the hair splitting has to come between a Gregory Rousseau and somebody else, a Micah Parsons and somebody else? And how are we to evaluate that? Because one player opted out, and sure, because of a pandemic, they shouldn't be penalized, but just because they were established doesn't mean that they can leapfrog players that are deserving, right? Just because of the name they carry. All that being said, I hope that any player that chooses to opt out is not hit with a giant financial loss as far as the draft is concerned. We heard out of the Pac-12 from the We Are United movement that some concessions have been made, and one of the main things that I was worried about out of that movement has been made, and I'm very happy about that, and that's that kids are going to be able to retain scholarships if they opt out, so that's great. But that's it, y'all. Gregory Rousseau is a freak athlete, #1 edge rusher in the draft according to Field Yates, and he has opted out of the season. Like I said, the word on the street is there are more players thinking about opting out. Nothing set in concrete yet, but thinking about opting out. They're just not sure how verified a season truly is yet. There's apparently still some wiggle room. If I was a betting man, sadly I am, I would bet that there is a season, but we're going to see more players opt out, and probability states that it'll probably be players that are pretty safe in their draft positions, right? First or second round guys that even if they opt out, aren't going to fall and incur a massive financial loss. But that's it for this video, y'all. If y'all liked the video, drop a comment. Let me know what y'all think, and let me know if y'all think any other major college players are going to opt out. This is a really interesting time because of this pandemic, and it's unfortunate that we have players opting out, but at the same time, I'm not going to ever be one to tell somebody else what to do and what's best for them. They know their prerogatives, they know what's best for them much better than what I know what's best for them. So with that being said, y'all, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoy high school football content, college football content, NFL and NBA content. Go ahead and join us here on the channel. We do constant uploads talking about this sort of things, football news, highlight and analysis, you name it, we do it, and we have a good time every time. That'll do it for today. See y'all.